world, and welcome to yet another episode of the Crisis Victory Show. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley. I'm an executive producer and host of the show, and my co-host, Pete Turner, is also the host of the Break It Down show. Pete, if you're in there, pop in and say hi real quick to the audience.
Hi, audience. It's me, Pete.
Yeah.
You all have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Good to see you, brother. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today I came back to talk to Richard about a week or so ago because the significance of PTSD that I'm being approached by so many of not only our veterans, but people that work in the line of serious and critical duties, like our police officers, our firefighters, our paramedics, people that are on the front line, if you will, to traumatic circumstances. And as a result of going through those circumstances over a period of time, this type of suffering, if you will, becomes integrated into a lifestyle that we're trying to break. PTSD is real, ladies and gentlemen. Richie Caruso, who was at one time years ago, he was actually a security guard in a SHU program, and that was in Corcoran prison, wasn't it, Richard?
Yeah, it's Corcoran, not a security guard. Security guard at Kmart.
Yeah, apologies, brother. I knew that right after I said it. Yeah, he was a prison guard in a maximum security facility, dealing in the maximum security facility, which is called SHU, or Security Housing Unit. And we did a show on that. I think that was episode 6, if I'm not mistaken, Richard. But what I wanted to do today is I asked Richard to bring Phyllis online, his wife, his companion in life. And I wanted to be able to display to the world, if you two would be willing to do this for me today, the benefit and the advantage of those of us that are dealing with PTSD and how we can find someone that we can kind of connect with to enrich our life, improve our life, redirect a lot of our thinking processes that we contend with as a result of suffering in PTSD. As you know, Richard, I was 17 years undercover for the Department of Justice, worked over 80% of that in foreign countries. I've been kidnapped and tortured. In another country, I was actually captured and spent 7 weeks in captivity, tortured daily. The expectation of death was hourly, and was rescued, survived, moved on in my life. But still, over 20 years later, that jungle still exists in my mind. What I barely got out of, and the agent that was with me that was also captured got out of, was horrific. And I didn't really have anybody other than fellow veterans that I could turn to that were PTSD aware, if you will. And I think you knew Richard 2 years ago, Captain Robert, former Vietnam POW and former Green Beret, called me up, said goodbye, and took his life on the spot. And out of 7 of us that were recognized in 2003 at the Seattle VA hospital, I am now the last one left alive. So PTSD is extremely important to me as a discussion. And Phyllis, I want to commend you greatly for the love, the support that you share with your husband. I've known you now for well over a year, and I get to see the both of you daily. You're very popular in the media world, but what you do, Phyllis, is so important and so significant to those of us that don't have a companion in life, that we can redirect what we used to think about all the time and daily. And you have regenerated something in Richie that's just absolutely phenomenal. So at this time, I'd like to put the floor over to the two of you. And Phyllis, if you wouldn't mind starting out and talking maybe a little bit about what you've seen in your travels with Richard as he's around other veterans, other people that you recognize and identify that are exposed with PTSD-related syndrome, how you not only think about it, but how you approach it. Phyllis, the floor is yours.
Well, I never, I really had no idea what it was like or what it actually was. I mean, Richie kind of opened up my eyes to it. There's just on a daily basis, people through his Facebook, at the gym. We could just be at a store, and there's something about him. He's like a magnet. He just draws people to him. So I just think that's his calling in life. And so that's what he does. And I get to watch it. I get to hear it, watch it, experience it. And it just makes me so proud of him. But I mean, it probably took me a year and a half to really understand that it exists.
Yes.
And so, but it makes me sad sometimes to hear the stories or even to meet the people that he's helped. And so I'm just really proud of him. He's amazing. He has the biggest heart of any man I've ever met. I mean, he's just, that's what attracted me to him was his heart. I've never
I,
met a man ever like him in my life. He's one of the most kind-hearted, giving, loving person that I've ever met. So yeah.
I can't disagree with you on that at all. Knowing Richard the way I know him too, and through our relationship, he's pretty remarkable. And I also think that Richard, what you do is you try to set an example to all of us. Because I know the things that you've had to overcome, brother. I know the experiences. I know them firsthand, having been in that similar environment, and the courage it takes to fight an environment like that in the moment while you're still existing in it. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about your connection with Phyllis, your connection with how you redirect a lot of what you must be dealing with personally into the relationship scenario that the two of you have, allowing you to have a better day each day.
It was a long road of, after Corcoran, and I came out of the prison system and fighting the state of California, very cautious, bitter, wanting justice, wanting the system to do the right thing. And then I realized, I'm carrying all this weight on my shoulders to a situation that I don't have the control over. And the only thing that I have the control over is basically myself, my choices that I make in life, my journey that's ahead of me. And I can either choose to carry these bags and carry this baggage with me, the rest of my life, however long that would be, or I could dwell on it or let it go and put it in God's hands and let God handle the people that were involved, the system, and hopefully at the end of the road, things will be better. And I did that. I remember talking to, when they were trying to force me out of the department for working with the FBI. I was talking to a state psychiatrist, and he said, Richard, he goes, you're on the front page of the LA Times, you're on 60 Minutes, you're on A&E. He said, but this is not who you are. He goes, who you are is a law enforcement officer. You're a Marine. He goes, you're going to have to find that purpose-driven life once you continue to go forward. And, it didn't sink in because at that time I wasn't doing advocating for veterans or law enforcement. I was in the middle of deep in the shit. And so
you were surviving, Richard.
Yeah. And so when I came out and I started sharing a little bit about what I went through, and people would see me on TV and see my story, and they'd come up and grab my hand and thank me. And I remember I was in San Francisco at the College of San Francisco. I was an invited guest, and this professor put together a tape that's on YouTube called Maximum Security University. And these are videos, actual videos that I had taken out of the prison, out of Corcoran, and given to the FBI. And they're spliced in together. They're actual shootings of different inmates. And when the lights were off, I had this Hispanic male behind me with his wife, and I could hear him crying. And I was sitting there wondering, who are these people? Because the room was filled probably with 150 people. The lights came on, and the professor introduced me, and I stood up, and they applauded, and this man grabbed my hand, and he had tears flowing down his face, and he said, Mr. Caruso, he goes, thank you for finally showing my family that my son wasn't hurting somebody else, and that's why he was killed. In the video, it showed him walking away from the altercation, and he was shot. His name was Martinez. He was shot, and he laid there in that yard looking up at that camera, kept looking up there for help to come out, and help was right on the other side of that door, and they wouldn't come through that door to get him. And he was crying and he was thanking me. So I started realizing that, you know what, this journey that I'm on, I could use it to my advantage to get out there in the world and extend my hand to help others. And I started doing that. But then, I wasn't into drugs. I wasn't into alcohol. I wasn't into alcohol. I used the gym as my dope. But I also dated. I dated. I would, go out and go on a date, and I moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and started dating a beautiful female. And I started, finding people with the same interests as me, and just
Yes.
getting out there. And sometimes I would be with a girl in public, and a veteran or a Marine or someone in the Air Force would come up to me and extend their hand and thank me for my service. And that female didn't know how to react, and some of them um, kind of look down, like, why are you giving that person time? You don't even know them. So I realized that this person is not going to be a good match for me. So when I would meet, like when I met Phyllis, we talked about, all our secrets and all, what drives us. And I asked her a question, and I said, how do you present to others if you're going to be with me? And she looked at that. She's like, what does that mean? How do I present you mean my physical?
She knows now.
She's like, you mean
Well, I
my,
know one thing. Richie will stop whatever he's doing to help someone.
Yes. Of
And
course.
I just thought it was I just couldn't believe it. I thought, God, what an amazing person.
but
And then I would think, who is this?
I was trying to say that, how do you present? Meaning, if I'm talking to someone that served this country or sacrificed for this country, I can't have you next to me rolling your eyes, because they will pick up on that. And
Yes,
they
of
will.
course.
And so
Of course.
when I met Phyllis, she was just in awe of this gift that I had, and she just kind of put that gift on steroids, adding to it, making that
Yeah.
individual that I was talking to feel so much more loved and so much more respected, because that's who Phyllis is, that she's able to just captivate you with her innocence and her
I
beautiful
agree.
I'm a people person. I love to meet people, and I don't know, stories interest me. What Richie
Well,
does.
Phyllis, representation, which is what Richard's talking about, is essential. And when you're out in public and in the public forum, the representation that the person that you are with has an impact on the people that observe that. Now, Richard, I want to make a comment about something at this point in time. You know what it comes down to is when you have to make the right decision. And you know that when we have to make the right decision, that there is always a cost. When I made the decision 30 something years ago to walk in on my own free will and take on a drug cartel that wasn't going to give me my freedom, the right decision was made, but the cost was so heavy. You yourself, a respected prison guard in Corcoran, in the maximum security environment that both you and I understand very, very well, made the right decision at a cost. And that's what I liked about when you first started discussing it today, is you were explaining the kind of throes that you go through. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to share about that point is this. To this day, to some point, even though he has Phyllis connecting with him, he still has to identify each and every day as he gets up and decides how he wants to make that day manifest. And having Phyllis in your life, like I said, I watch you guys every single day in the media and stuff, and you bring so much love and joy out to the world. And this is a conquest against the negativity that we can be forced to live with, but we can choose yet another path as to how we contend with it. And that's what we're doing.
Hell, I'm just, you were quick to catch on to it, because you would message me privately. But people
Yes.
used to see me, on Facebook. And then when this woman came on my Facebook,
Yes.
and I call her like the Lucy of 2025.
I love the Lucy thing, bro.
She's so innocent, and she's not scared to show that innocence and that naivety. And people just go crazy for her love, for her smile. And you would be amazed at the messages from women that message her and say, Phyllis, please don't change. Keep being who you are.
To meet me and be my friend. I said to Richie, I can't keep up with you.
But, it was my people, you guys, my network, the messages of love and kindness. And a lot of them, were just happy to see that person at the end of the road at my journey, that he found himself a good woman.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a companion, not just a good woman, but a companion that you can shoulder things with, because Phyllis is a lot stronger, in my opinion, than a lot of people, based on the fact that she's willing to accept the exposure that you have brought into her life, and her acceptance of that. All she's done is compliment it. And it's so beautiful. And, you see my comments to you guys every single day. I thank you for the love that you show all of us. I thank you.
We love it. Yeah.
Well, I love you. I do
love
you.
that input. We love hearing from people that are in dark places that just message us, and even if it's just a smiley face, we know it. We know they had their coffee, they're laughing, and like Phyllis, she's not using filters. I don't have to disguise her. It's the good, the bad, and it's almost like a little watching our journey and all you guys are on board, and I'm privileged that you take an interest in it. And I'm honored that you love me enough that you are happy for me. And
yes, absolutely. And Richard, in the scripture, it says that he shall provide our needs according to his riches and glory. This is never about us. This is always about the glorification of God. And when he brings the right person into your path, as he has done with Phyllis coming into your life, it's an instant match. But that glory belongs to God. He is the one that said, okay, Richard, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help heal you. I'm going to put you on a path with somebody that's going to be a magnificent foundation. And you guys become now, as Jesus Christ told us, we have to become the example, to be a doer of the word, not just a hearer only, but to actually go forth and show by example, his truth and his love and his abilities to conquer anything and everything. And Richard, it's almost like you're downplaying the amount of what you went through during those years to this audience today, because I do know from firsthand experience what it's like when every single day that you stepped into that cell block, the possibility of death is very real. It only takes one mistake. And these thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, they don't leave you. You stay on an edge that's indescribable unless you've been there and done that. And working as an undercover operative for the DOJ for all those years I did, every single moment that you're out in the field, the expectation of death is always with you, because once you're identified, it's over. It's basically over. And surviving twice where I was captured, once in a kidnapping and once actual captivity in El Salvador, it's just remarkable that 20-something years later, I still live with that jungle in my head every single day. But what I have done is kind of what you did with Phyllis. I found a support person in my life. Pete Turner, my co-host on the show here, Pete and I talk off air sometimes when he's dealing with a traumatic moment of his memories, as do I. We're very fortunate and very blessed in having a friendship with someone that actually understands the impact that such trauma can have, and it can rob you of your daily joy. You have to find a valve, an outlet, a resource, if you will, that can take your thinking into a more positive direction. And that is done, my friends, through people that we bring into our life. This, again, is about choices. But Richard, reaching it out, and Phyllis too, when you guys reach out and you hug a brother that you've never met before in your life, you say hi to a friend and you listen to his story. When you're standing in a shopping line at a store and someone approaches you and you can see that they have pain and they have anguish, and the two of you both respond in such a positive fashion that you remove that temporary moment of whatever it is that person's dealing with that none of us know. We don't know what they just went through 20 or 30 minutes ago, but you pick up on that vibe, don't you guys? And what do? Yeah.
I just experienced it at the grocery store the other day. I was looking for something and I said to this lady, excuse me, and so she stepped aside, and within 2 minutes, she was telling me about how she lost her mother, her son to brain cancer. And then she looks at me and she says, why am I telling you all of this?
Yes.
And I said, I guess because
She felt safe.
we were supposed to talk.
Yeah.
And I just stood there and let her talk. And then I told her that I took care of my brother who had brain cancer until he died. And so we connected right there at the store.
You had
And-
something compatible. Something
Yeah, and I
compatible.
walked away, but that happens with me a lot, more so with Richie, but it's kind of like Richie and I just have that same energy.
Yeah, you do. You guys really do. I can say that all the way across the United States, and I see you every single day of my life, and you truly emit that. And come on, both of you. You know, you see my comments. You see what I say to you, don't you? That's why I asked. That's why I asked you to come on the show as a couple.
But that's it's the guys that are in those dark places and the females that are in those dark places. I mean, I have a female veteran. She was in the Army, and about 5 years ago, she was on Alligator Alley. She pulled over her vehicle, and she took her 9mm out, and she texted her mom and dad that she just can't do it anymore. And she put the barrel in her mouth, and her mother called her, and her father called her immediately and talked her off that ledge. And then 5 years later, she ended up meeting this other guy. He was an Army veteran. This was last year, and he just walked out on the marriage, left her on the side of the road in a vehicle. And she reached out to me, and she was lost, and I was talking to her across the country. And so I'm over on one side of the room. Phyllis has just conducted a normal day, and her husband's on the other side of the room talking to this female veteran off the ledge who's out on the road, suicidal. And she's not, Phyllis is being supportive. She's not saying, get off the phone.
Well, no, but I did ask you, I said, why would she call you of all people? Not that, because
I get it.
You know what I mean? I was like,
yes.
I mean, I'm sure
because she knew she had
there's other people out there. So I didn't know, but I thought somehow he got her trust.
Yeah.
And she thought Richie will help me.
So she went silent on me, and I panicked. So I opened up my network to find a number to her family member, and her family called me and said, yeah, she overdosed, and she overdosed in the trailer. And our parents had a tracker on her phone, and they found her in Arkansas, and she was almost dead. They got her out. She's in a psychiatric ward, and going to deal with these demons, And I was just like, wow, I knew when she wasn't returning my texts or calls that this happened. And so from my viewpoint, having to deal with that unknown, those are the scary moments, because I've had them, brothers and sisters, that veteran brother and sisters and first responders that have taken their life. So then after she got out of the psychiatric ward, she got on her feet, and she contacts me. She says, Richie, I'm traveling down south. And she goes, but I want to come by and I want to meet Phyllis.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
Like,
I want to meet Phyllis. Hi, sister.
Yeah. I said, you want to meet Phyllis?
You're still alive. Sorry.
So she came by the house. I mean, when she drove her RV, she parked it in a Cracker Barrel. I took her to the beach, and she had her and Phyllis, and they wanted to meet this ball of energy right here. They wanted to
I mean, I still believe that Richie saved her.
Yes.
The steps that went to finding her, I know he saved her.
I'm a piece of that chain. I try to tell her I'm a piece of that chain, and we're only strongest as the weakest link in that chain.
But you made the calls. He made the calls, which led to her being found.
Well, Phyllis, a lot of people don't understand that 22 veterans a day commit suicide in this country. That's 22 too many. And the problem that I see with it as a PTSD patient of more than 20 years now through the VA is we have to start aligning with all options, not just some options. And that's where the two of you come into play, because you become, as a team in unity, an option, if you will. Maybe they drew to Richard, but they also ended up linking up with you too, Phyllis. And this is very significant, because over this period of time you've been together with Richard, you've had an ability and a way of developing your own approach to those of us that suffer. I don't know if you both...
I was an invited guest out last year to Gunny Ermy, who was the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket. And he had passed away a couple of years ago, but he has a brewery out there. Yes. And my friend Bart Avery, he was owner with Gunny Ermy. They were best friends. All of a sudden, I get this invitation to be the guest speaker at the 249th Marine Corps birthday, and I'm going to be
Yeah,
speaking in front of hundreds of Marines.
love it.
And so I go out there, and I'm out there, and I'm being honored, and this and that. And I look at Bart, and I go, "Come on, Bart, I know why I'm here." He goes, "Why are you here?" He goes, "I'm here because of Phil." He goes, "Well, you're not a stupid Marine."
No, no.
But so I got up there, and I spoke to the Marines, and
No, they admire you.
but I spoke to them, and there were correctional officers that came from Corcoran that drove hours to come see me because
Yeah.
they came up to Phil and said, "Can we meet him?" And I'm like, I can't even tell you how much that meant to me, that they wanted to extend their hand to me and come and embrace me. And Phyllis
Well,
was shocked.
brother, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, but truly, once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's right.
Always. Yeah, I've seen that develop over
It's
the
like
years.
your brother.
Yeah, my brother and my nephew. He was a sergeant when he came
I
out.
saw that picture. Yeah.
Yeah. I have nothing but so much love and respect for each and every one of you. The Marine Corps is different. Now, as you know, I was a paratrooper, so I was in a little bit different association.
Thank you for your service. Me and Phyllis, you'll be surprised, Hal, because like Phyllis will talk and she'll want to hear some stuff that I went through. And I tell her, I said, "Honey, I've been through hell and back." I said, "A lot of people have been through hell and back, and we all have the story." I said, "But Hal," I go, "you need to research his story because it's the way that you have turned your life around and how you're giving back and how you're there for people on hospice or giving people Narcan, or you're out there in the community marrying couples, and the way that you have turned your life around from being incarcerated in the SHU and Folsom State Prison to working for the CIA to having cartels show up at your doorstep stabbing you in the head." Phyllis and we're just like, Phyllis goes, I don't know how he does it."
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're still here.
Sometimes I wonder that myself, but I do believe that it's divine, and I do believe that is the reason I am still here, Phyllis. And I remember, as I told Richard on our show, when the contract killer that was sent here to take me out, as he was stabbing me and I was losing consciousness, I remembered that I knew that I was going to die. And then I remembered that something just said, "Hey, it's going to be okay." And I felt this love enveloping me. There was no fear. There was no pain. There was nothing. There was acceptance. And then something greater happened to me. And fortunately, at some period of time, I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I came out of it, I was able to crawl to one of my tenants' doors and knock on it. And they came out and they were able to get the police and the paramedics there in time. But it's when real happens. And this, Richard, goes back to our military training. I remember going through Tigerland Camp in 1972 and being trained that pain is your friend. Friend. It tells you that you're alive. It lets you know what's going wrong. I remember when I went through escape and evasion into the POW camp training. And look, when I got captured as a prisoner, when I was thinking back to that 17-year-old kid in Fort Polk, Louisiana, in Tigerland during the Vietnam War, training to go over. And I remember in my captivity, sitting there saying, "Yeah, don't tell them nothing, because the moment you do, there's no other purpose for value in your life and they don't need you." And that is what was instilled into this 17-year-old boy when he was going through his simulated POW camp. So it's really funny to me how things in our younger years can come back and they can survive us. And Phyllis, that's part of the answer to your question of how I have survived so many things and so many times. I think when I took my oath 2 weeks before I turned 17, but had to wait till I was 17 to go in the Army, it really took to me the importance of it. I had just seen my brother at the Bremerton Naval Hospital, wounded in action in Quezon, 1968-69. I remember how angry I was when I walked on that ward and I saw all of these young men, all of them in all disarray physically and psychologically from combat they had just come out of a week or two before. And I was so angry. And so I wanted to give back. Well, I think, Richard, the same thing applied when I approached the cartel in Culiacan, let them know that I was done, got back up here and had a third of a ton of cocaine waiting for me instead of the hugs and handshakes they gave me as I departed from there. Willing to set up their people, willing to do anything. I just wanted the hell out of it. And that was the following day when I walked into the U.S. Attorney's office, said, yeah, I'm Al Bradley. And they went, oh my God, the kingpin, he's here. What the hell do we do with this? And it was just an amazing journey from that on.
So Hal, that being said,
Yes.
your wall, letting people around your circle, you're very selective. And so when
Yes.
you do get a woman or someone that has the qualities of someone like Phyllis, how do you expect her to absorb who you are?
Same thing you did, Richard.
Yeah.
Same thing. We show the better side of that which we have become. It's not who we were.
Right.
It's today. And you know what? The actions speak for themselves. And people, when I go into restaurants, many times I can't even pay for my own meal. I go into a store and people will come to me and attract to that love that they feel and that confidence that they see. And this is what happens as a result of you and I, Richard, surviving what we have survived and not taking credit for the survivorship. We both know who gets the credit for all of this. And then you become a beacon, if you will, an example that others can see. And they become interested in that. And Phyllis, that's why they draw to you too in that same magnet, because they want to have what the two of you have manifested yourselves into. And that is the purpose of why you're on this show today, is to set them and be that example, to be the showing to others that, look, you don't have to go through this alone. You don't have to go to sit in meetings to find it. You don't have to call counselors to do it. At some point, something better, another option, if you will, comes into play. And that's what the two of you have become, which is, again, Richard and Phyllis, exactly why I asked you to come on today and talk about these things. Because
have you reflected and pushed away some good women over the time, over the years?
I shut down. I literally shut down because I didn't know how to sit there and tell a decent person like what you found. Yeah, I was in a Mexican drug cartel for 15 years, and yeah, I was in Folsom Prison. I was in Leavenworth Federal Prison, and and how are you doing tonight, dear?
Yeah. That kind of happened when we were in the gym.
Yeah.
He started telling me about his movie, and I'm listening, and then he says, "Oh, by the way," then later he had said, "Would you like to go to dinner tonight? I'm actually having dinner with Charles Manson's grandson." I'm like, Manson? I wanted to run. I'm like, I don't want to be associated with anybody that.
Yeah, that's my point. That's exactly it.
But Jason is a good guy.
I didn't know if I should keep talking or run.
His grandson's a good guy.
Yeah, and then when I tell my family or friends, last New Year's, I spent New Year's with Charles Manson's grandson. They're like, what? And I went,
Richard and I both met Charles Manson. I met him when I was going through NRC processing up there in Vacaville. He was in Vacaville at the time. Yeah.
Mexican Mafia, the MA tried to kill him up there. They tried to kill him up in Vacaville.
Yeah, I remember him coming into the infirmary and they made us all get against the wall and he's got 4 guards with him. I mean, every time they took him out of his cell, he had 4 guards with him. It's just crazy. At least in Vacaville. I don't know about any other place. But he was just, in my opinion, nuttier than a Mad Hatter boy. He was just something else again. And he would sit there.
Hal, tell me about the one. I know you have that one that maybe you pushed away and you didn't. Do you remember her?
I don't. What are we talking about?
You have that one female who tried to get close to you, that tried to understand you, that tried to be there for you, and you just could not. She could not understand who you were. I mean,
yeah, I did have a situation some years ago, and we can look back and regret those things, or we can look forward and grow from those things, Richard. And yeah, you know what it is you have survived amazing things. It's almost like supernatural things, if you will, because even the person yourself, and you know this, Richard, what you went through also. Sometimes you wonder, why am I even still here? My God, and of what purpose do I have as a result of why I'm still here? And we can't go back to the past and change or alter those things, but we can gain wisdom from those decisions we made in that time and better ourselves as a result and become more beneficial on a humanitarian basis, like the two of you have done. And that's exactly.
I'm sorry, the post office was calling.
Oh, it's all right, my brother. So yeah, that's a good question. A very good question. I don't have an answer.
I've just been Phyllis has got so much. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but her insides are so beautiful, and you see that,
Yeah.
and that's
Yes.
why I love sharing her with my family of veterans and law enforcement officers that are in
Yes.
that dark spot, because a lot of them message me saying, "Brother, you give us hope. You
Yeah.
give us hope that I can find this my fourth quarter," and that's what we want to do is say, it's out there. But you know what? If you're just going to sit home and you're going to slam dope or drink out of the bottle, you're not going to leave yourself open
Yeah.
to finding that person. You got to get out and find your purpose-driven life and maximize who you are and use your tools in your toolbox to attract a Phyllis. But if you're making bad choices,
Absolutely.
if you're making bad choices and you're slamming dope, or if you're drinking every night, or if you're abusive to people, you're not going to find a woman that's going to want to that should put up with that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And you know what? As you know, I've been a pastor for 26 years, and I'm a certified hospice chaplain, working in the chaplaincy of hospice for over 20 years. And the one thing I always look to is in Proverbs 3 and 5 and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will direct your path." And that thought was going through my mind when I came out of the assault where I was left for dead. And I had visibility for a moment. And that was the scripture that hit my mind. He's directing my path. Got to survive. You got to get through this. You got to make it, type energy comes in that's above and beyond your own. Kind of like a Marine going through basic training, and he gets out of that training. He now has an ability and an energy that he never had before, and a clearer understanding of just how important it is to push that extra mile that you never even knew that you had in you. Well, the same thing applies to those of us that are disabled vets psychologically, physiologically. You, me, and Pete, all three of us have that in common. We loved our country. We served our country. We still to this day serve, even though we're out of the military forum. We're always going to be in the military forum in another way. We take that wisdom and knowledge and we put it forward into the community to help the humanitarian basis become stronger and better. But what we do, Richard and Phyllis, is we do it by example. It's the example that tells the story. It is who you are. It is who we are today. And we wouldn't be who we are today, Richard, had we had not experienced what we did in those earlier years of life. And then we had the wisdom to take it up into a positive realm and move forward with it. Well, listen, guys, I'm about ready to wrap up here. So before I close out the show today, I want to hear anything that you'd like to send to the audience, because this is really important to me. We've got people out there struggling right now that are policemen, firemen, people that are first responders, military people that are coming out of a life that they've been in for 20 to 30 years, and now they're coming into a new life, and maybe or maybe not, they don't know how to approach it. So as we close out today's episode, please talk about that. Share your advice.
I would
Yes.
say just, open up your heart. Don't be afraid to talk to people anymore. So many people are just, I don't know, they're in their own little world, or if you need help, I don't know. I just think people need to start talking to people more, strangers. Like, don't be afraid to say hello. Hello, how are you? Have a nice day, or just smile. People don't even
Perfect.
smile at each other anymore.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
yeah, a smile can change someone's day. That's all I have to say. Just
That's
open up,
excellent.
open up to strangers. Just smile, say hello. We move. You don't have to have a conversation. Just hello, how are you today? That's it.
For me, I mean, the gift that I have, I try to find a common ground. If I see someone, say, wearing a Jet shirt or Alabama Crimson Tide shirt, I'll make a little comment because I know that shirt means something to them, or that
Yeah.
hat means something to them. And I'll make a little comment, and I can tell by the expression that I get back whether they're either even open to a handshake or to my, to wanting to engage with me. And if they
Yes.
engage with me, I'll continue to try to find common ground, whether if they were in the military or where they've lived, and I've visited where they live. I try to find that common ground to give them comfort that I understand about them or I have a similarity to them. And lots of times that will drop their guard and that will offer me an opportunity to extend my hand and say, hey, if you ever need me, here's my number. Don't hesitate to reach out. And so, I don't have a nonprofit. I'm not trying to make a dollar off anybody. All my travels and everything are always paid by me. We do it together, me and Phyllis. We
Yeah.
pay
Yes.
for our journey. And but the reward that I get back is just the thank yous and Richard, we would love to see you. Can you come by the house? Or, I had a Marine Corps 2-star general take me out on his yacht for 2.5 weeks with his wife. All up.
I remember that.
And I mean, I said, sir, he told me he'd like to see me up in Michigan at his house. And I said, sir, I was just a Marine corporal, 40 years ago. He goes, Richard, he goes, we're Marines. He goes, there's no one but we're Marines. He goes, but what you're doing today out in the world is so valuable. And that's why I wanted to meet you. Is to have a Marine Corps 2-star general, General Mattis is one of his best friends, Major General Lott, to extend his hand. And so what I do is I network off the Hal Bradleys, the General Lott. I network off the Pete's, and we network off each other, and we put each other in positions to help others.
To help others.
With no agenda.
Yeah, well, listen, you two, I want to thank you both so very much. God bless you. You both know that I love you very much, and I mean that with all sincerity. Richard and Phyllis, the work that you're doing, not only in your community, but around the world, that is seen by so many, just keep on doing it. Don't change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing, because out here, we all feel you. Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today, and I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go Victors.